dollar makes you wonder where your money went. You can scream, you can holler.
Hi folks, this is Jack Spirko with another edition of the Survival Podcast. As always, one man's view of the changing world, the changing times, and the things that we can all do to live a better life. If times get tough, or even if they don't dictate it, it is almost always the case from my personal mobile studio, my 2006.5 Jetta diesel TDI, as I make my commute between Arlington and Frisco, Texas. Folks, and remember what we were sold. So every day what I want to do is, even if I'm talking about storing food, I want to tell you one thing that $837 billion could have bought. And then we can look at what we're getting and say which one would we have rather had. Let's say we threw away the tax cuts. We just spent $837 billion on one thing. Now remember, one of the things we're supposed to be doing here is creating independence from foreign oil. Creating new green energy jobs, programs, and generating power to drive our country forward into a new age of environmentally friendly, renewable sources of energy. So what I did is I said, well, how much does it cost to generate wind energy? And I went to GE's website and I looked at the specs on their big, giant commercial turbines, and they gave me a number of between 3.5 to 4 cents per kilowatt for wind generation of electricity. This is the whole cost of projects designed to turn, construction, everything. 3.5 to 4 cents a kilowatt. So I said, well, let's take $837 billion frickin' dollars and divide it by 4 cents. Now, I couldn't use a normal calculator. I had to use the one on the computer because there are too many zeros. But what I got is that's about, and I rounded these numbers off, so most of them are actually quite larger because there's hundreds of millions that go after the points. But I just can't say this on the air and keep a straight face. So I rounded it off. That's about 20.9 trillion kilowatts. 20.9 trillion kilowatts of electricity that we could have generated from wind sources in the United States. 20.9 trillion, right? Remember, 0.9 starts to sound small. 0.9, that alone would be 900 billion kilowatts, plus the 20 trillion more. So I said, okay, now here's what I have to do. I have to figure out, how much oil does this represent? Well, it turns out that 1 gallon of oil has about 18 kilowatts of energy potential in it. If we're using oil and burning oil to get electricity, by the time it's turned into a type of oil that we can actually use, right? So 18 kilowatts per gallon. Fine. Divide 20.9 trillion by 18, and you get 1.1 trillion gallons of oil. 1.1 trillion gallons of oil. Now, how much oil is in there in a vaulted barrel of oil? Now, most people think of 55-gallon drums or 50-gallon drums. A barrel of oil on the open market is 42 gallons. So we take our 1.1 trillion gallons of oil, and we divide it by 42, and we see that for our investment of $837 billion, we get green energy that is equivalent to 27.6 billion barrels of oil. To say it again, for our investment there, we would have gotten 27.6 billion barrels of oil equivalent energy. But it would be 100% renewable, 100% environmentally friendly, and have created millions of jobs, because you got to build an assload of wind farms to spend $837 billion, folks. And you got to build them all over the United States of America. And you got to build transmission lines, etc. You got to build a hell of a lot of infrastructure with $837 billion to generate that amount of electricity. But that's what we would get. All right, so let's put a price on oil. Now, everybody knows that oil's down in the $38, $40 range right now. We remember it was $144. But let's just be ultra freaking conservative and say over the next 5 to 10 years that we would be doing this, that oil is going to average 45 bucks. Now, I think that's extremely conservative, and if anybody wants to bet on the price of oil going over $45 by 2010, please let me know. I will give you some Vegas-style action on that. But let's use 45 bucks. So we take 27.6 billion frickin' barrels of oil at $45 a barrel, and we get $1.24 trillion for the oil, which means our return of investment is immediately roughly $400 billion frickin' dollars. Profit! Profit! $400 billion in profit. And an infrastructure that's turning out 20.9 trillion kilowatts a frickin' year. That's what your money could have bought. But no! What did we buy? We bought STD clinics that are supposed to create jobs. We bought billions of dollars for frickin' Acorn to go out and fraudulently register voters that you know are going to vote for one side of the aisle. I don't even care which side it is. It shouldn't matter. If they're fraudulently registering voters for either side of the aisle, they are scum. Whether it's Republican, whether it's Democrat, whether it's frickin' constitutionalists. I don't care who it frickin' is. Alright? If you're doing that, you are scum. You should go to jail. Not get a taxpayer check for over $4 billion. But that's where our money went. How much wind energy, if we just took the $4 billion from Acorn and said, you know what, we're going to throw some turbines out in West Texas. Now, I want to be clear, I don't want to spend any of this money. But I do want to look at it and say, well, since you're supposed to be creating green energy, how much freaking green energy could you create? And what is the ROI for the American people? Now, here's what you have to understand to really let this thing piss you off the way you need to be pissed off right now, okay? When you build a windmill, and electricity comes out of it, it keeps producing it for years and years and years. On and on and on. It doesn't go away. And the electricity that comes out of it is a commodity. You can sell it. It has value. Now, nobody wants to be paying $500 a month for electric bills like some people are right now. Nobody wants to be paying 18 frickin' cents a kilowatt like some people in some states are right now. But people are more than happy to pay for reasonably priced electricity. There is a market out there, and at generation at 4 cents a kilowatt, we could be selling to the private sector at 8 cents a kilowatt, letting them do distribution and capping the profit at 20%, selling to the public at 10 cents a kilowatt, and telling them, go build some of your own. Because this works better than cogeneration. This works better than burning oil. This works better than burning natural gas. There's an infrastructure now. Use it. You can use the infrastructure. The power we generate, you have to buy from us. This puts a profit back into the government. Now, should the government be in the business for profit? No. So what do? We could pay off the national debt, folks. We could pay off the debt with this money. This $837 billion could have solved our financial problem if we were going to spend it anyway. In fact, we probably could have made enough money with this project to actually fix Social Security and prop it up. Because it's the danger of going broke and insolvent by 2050 or earlier. We probably could have fixed Medicare and Medicaid and made them what they should be and only cover the right people. We could have eliminated our national debt. And we could have put this country back on a track by putting people to work, developing new technologies, developing new infrastructure. That's what we could have done with $837 billion. And it would have returned an immediate profit. By the time the project was done, it is already profitable. But no, your government bought grass for the National Mall. Your government spent a combined almost $20 billion to supposedly provide oversight and transparency on how they're spending our money, yet no one, including the senators that voted for this bill, really know everything that's in it and how it's all allocated and where all the money's going and how many programs are really there.